So according to Sony Alpha rumors, the A6700 is finally around the corner. Here are the rumored specs and a reason why you may not want to get it. So starting off, this will have the same 26 megapixel sensor as the FX30, and really this is no surprise here. I think that most people maybe hoped that this would have like a stacked sensor and be like closer to like a mini APS-C A1 or A9 Mark III whenever that comes out, or A9 II even, but this is not going to have a stacked sensor, so I don't expect it to have like the super crazy readout speeds that the stacked sensor provides, but Sony is usually pretty good with a fast enough processor that it can get some really fast readout speed. So I do expect this to be a very fast camera, at least matching the speeds of the Canon R7, somewhere around 30 frames per second, possibly even faster, but I'll talk a little bit more about that when I get to the video features. This will supposedly have 7 stops of IBIS. I'm wondering if this will have a similar IBIS system as the Sony A7R5, which uses their AI technology to supposedly give it better IBIS. I've heard good things from the reviewers that the IBIS does work really well in that camera, so I'll be interested to see how this one pans out. You would think with it being an APS-C sensor that they could possibly have a little bit more room to move it around in the mount, but I'm not really sure if that's 100% the way they're completely doing the IBIS at this point. I mean, it is to a degree, but using the AI chip, I think there's so much more that you can do with the software side of things than what you could even do with the physical moving around of the actual sensor. Speaking of software and all the different AI features, this will supposedly have the same AI processor as the Sony ZV-1, which I believe is the same one from the Sony A7R5. This sounds very intriguing. I will be interested to see how many of the features actually come over from the Sony ZV-E1. Will they have all the different, like, I don't know, not necessarily gimmicky, but somewhat gimmicky features for like the Vlogger ZV-1, or will they maybe kind of separate those and kind of use the ZV-1 as like they say, the creator Gen Z type camera? Because personally, I would like to see a lot of those features come over to the Alpha line. I wonder if this will be the first camera that actually gets some of those features. Now onto the video specs. Supposedly this will do 4K 120 with a 1.19 crop, so that's not too bad of a crop. Of course, this is a cropped sensor, but to me 1.19 isn't very egregious and it's not going to really hurt a workflow. Now, considering that this can do 4K 120 and the R7 is a 4K 60 camera, at least theoretically, this should be able to push out even faster than the R7. That being said, I believe that the R7 could probably push out faster than it does, but it just kind of arbitrarily puts out a number, at least from the processing power. Now, I don't know how fast their sensor is, but I would suspect that it could be pushed out with more juice if it really wanted to be. We'll see if they push the industry further. Maybe they come out with 40 frames per second in this camera. Now, when it comes to the design, they do say that it's going to be an all new design. It will still have the EVF on the left side, but it will have the scroll wheel on the front under the shutter button. The grip is going to be redesigned as well and more ergonomic. The body will be about 3 millimeters deeper and 4 millimeters taller. They expect an announcement date in July and for it to be shipping by August. Now, that all being said, what is the reason that I said maybe you shouldn't get this camera? Well, that has something to do with a different video that Andre did talking and regarding the firmware situation with the Sony A7S III and the Sony Alpha 1. I will actually link to that video below so you can go check out the details of it, but it's something that I've been saying as well as David Osler for a while, and that's that the Alpha line somewhat seems to be being abandoned to a degree. It doesn't look like they're getting the same firmware updates and the same support long after the fact. It seems like most of the research and development seems to be going towards the FX line for, you know, the video centric cameras, or the ZV line. And to me, if you're going to have like the flagship premium Alpha APS-C camera come out, I don't know, I just don't trust Sony to keep up with the current situation, and who knows what's going to happen in 6 months. Are they going to bring out like a ZV-1 version of it and it's going to be like way cheaper? Or are they going to continue with the FX30, because it's kind of basically the stills version of the FX30? Is maybe the FX30 going to keep getting all the better updates and the more updated features, and this camera is going to eventually be left behind like the Sony Alpha 1 and the A7S III? It just seems like to me that Sony is more focused in on that version of their cameras, so the video centric, the creator centric cameras, and it looks like stills are somewhat slipping through the cracks for them. I hope that I'm wrong. I hope that they will correct course here, but I don't know. I just been burned too many times personally by Sony, and I think a lot of people feel that way. That being said, I'm not saying this isn't going to be a great camera, and I'm not saying this may not be a great camera for you, but what I will say is when this camera is announced, make sure that this is the camera that you want from day one. So if you're buying this camera, you're buying this camera for the day that it was announced. Expect that this is going to be the camera that you really want, and you're not going to be heartbroken when in a year it's not getting any kind of follow-ups and you're seeing other features and other cameras that you really want. Know that this is going to be the stills camera for you, and plan on buying that camera and it being the same camera in 3 or 4 years from now. But those are just my thoughts. Drop in the comment section below and give me your thoughts. Are you excited about this camera? Do you agree with me that maybe buy this with some caution here? Let me know all that in the comment section below. If you've liked this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. It really helps out the channel and I very much appreciate it. Until next time, peace.